Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Before I started work on this week's episode reviews for King-ohger and Geats, I wanted to talk about some King-ohger news that came out over the weekend, which is about a time jump. We got an announcement for the next arc and this cool poster giving us some exciting details about the future of the series, which is super cool and unexpected. Like right now, as of this recording, I'm going to be doing episode 25's review right after this, and episode 26 looks like it'll be finishing off that arc. I suppose there's a chance it could go for one more episode after that into 27. I didn't check the episode descriptions or anything like that, but I'm going to presume it's going to end after that. And I imagine that it probably will, because I feel like this fresh start arc will line up with when Gotchard premieres, which would make a lot of sense. Which is something I'd like to see them do in the future. That'd be pretty cool. Not necessarily always do it and feel the need to have something you always do, like with the toys, but I think it would be cool if every now and then Sentai could line up like, oh, we're going to do like a new era of stories when the Rider series premieres. That's pretty cool. Regardless, so after this arc wraps up, which is kind of resolving the Bugnarok conflict, we're going to get this new arc. And we got this poster showing off the characters after this 2-year time jump, and it says after the conflict with the Bugnarok has been put to bed, it's been 2 years, and now they face a new threat from space, which is this character that's going to call themselves the King of the Universe. And that's all we have right now, but it's super interesting. I mean, first of all, the poster shows us some classic time-jumpy team-up hair shenanigans. I mean, some of them look mostly the same, like Yellow's basically just looks like another outfit change. Rita looks almost exactly the same. I don't notice any differences. I feel like Black Ranger's hair's down a little bit more. It looks like slightly different, but not like anything that would be that unusual to see in a normal episode. The most significant differences are Yanma's gone Super Saiyan. He's learned to do that thing where you can just stay in the normal state that they did in the Cell Game Saga. And then Gira notably having longer hair, slicked back. He also looks a little bit more mature. That's the thing I'm excited about most, is I actually like the idea of maybe tackling him becoming a more mature character, less of an obnoxious Toku lead. I think that would both be less annoying for me as a viewer, but also be interesting to see him mature into this role. I think outside of the plot stuff, that's the thing that interests me most about this, is like we're seeing right now Gira as a very, fresh, naive king as he's learning to become king, but the idea of getting to see a more experienced version of him in this is actually really cool. And in general, time jumps leave you so much potential. I mean, they'll probably explore the time jump a little bit, give them superpowers, and then they'll turn them back into teenagers and send them back to 1955, which they'll stay until the final season. I think that there's going to be some really interesting potential with this, though. With the plot as well, they're wrapping up the Bugnarok conflict, which is super interesting, because obviously right now we're winding down this conflict with Death Narok. But I also feel that there's an enormous amount of potential still for the Bugnarok story. I imagine because they're leading toward this idea of Jeremy taking over as the Bugnarok king and being the ambassador and adding them as the Sixth Kingdom. Obviously the Bugnarok will be around, and I hope aspects of that story will still be throughout the rest of the series, because I think there's a lot of potential, because it really wasn't until this arc we've done a lot of stuff with them. There's been a couple standout moments, but for the most part, until we got to this, most of the drama has been about the kingdom conflicts and Rackley's, and I feel like the Bugnarok didn't really get a chance to shine, and now they've brought up a bunch of interesting stuff with the idea of maybe we weren't the villains and history did us dirty, not to mention all the backstory with Jeremy that's still left to be fully explored. So it does surprise me a bit that this is sort of coming to an end, just because I feel there's at least maybe 4 or 5-ish episodes worth of potential before we move on to something else, but I imagine there will probably still be more stuff involved in it. I'm just kind of surprised, because I felt like this Death Narok stuff was kicking off a slightly longer arc before we got to this. But regardless, just the idea that, we set up all this stuff with Rackley's and the Bugnarok that you would think, oh, this is going to be for the whole series. And obviously there probably will be stuff still with the Bugnarok, and I'm sure Rackley's will be back. It'll be interesting to see what happened to him after his 2-year time jump. What's a time jump? A time jump. Was he going to Negan it? That's probably what's going to happen. He's probably been in jail for 2 years or whatever, and he's going to go on a redemption arc, and then he's going to get, King-ohger Dead City spinoff. All kinds of weird references in this video today. Anyway. So, there's obviously probably still going to be elements of that, but what I mean is, usually when you get a Sentai series, Sentai is one of the most repetitive series of all time. Once you get the general premise and, the players in the series, you, for the most part, know what you're in for. And in this case, they laid down all the stuff, and now I would have never expected, oh, we're going to move on to something other than the Bugnarok and do a time jump. I can't think of a Sentai series that's done a time jump within the main series. There's been, finale stuff, 1 year later, or whatever the hell Die Ranger's finale was, and stuff like that. But this is totally different. And time jumps always offer interesting potential for character dynamics to change, characters to change. Not to mention this new threat will be something interesting. I imagine this will somehow tie into the one thing I'm dreading about King-ohger's future, which is this upcoming Kyoryuger crossover. But admittedly, this like change in status quo and the idea of going to space and all that kind of makes it interesting. I'm going to imagine this is how they'll tie it in. Maybe have the day boss villains, because I believe they're from space, be part of the threat or something they encounter from this Kyoryuger thing. And maybe this is how they tie it to the Sentai universe, which is a hot mess anyway because it's one universe, but also it's not. But I always assumed that this was at least meant to be outside of their nonsense continuity, that this King-ohger was meant to be an alternate universe, just period, like Terra is just an alternate Earth. But maybe Terra is just a planet in the universe, and that's how we're going to be able to meet Kyoryuger. I mean, the characters from all kinds of different dimensions and stuff have met each other all the time, so it's not like it's difficult, but it certainly does make me think a lot about how that's going to work. Not sure how long the arc is supposed to be. Like, I know there's going to be, like, actually a mecha that interacts with King-ohger or something like that, but I'm kind of hoping it acts more like the Gokaiger crossover in Kyoryuger, where it's just a nice set of episodes that's pleasant to watch, but then the series is allowed to move on. Like, I just hope that it's obviously going to be impactful on the series, but I hope it doesn't rob King-ohger of its own story at the end of the day. I wish it was just a side special. Obviously, with a name like King of the Universe, that's clearly going to tie into the royalty theme, but it could also tie into the idea, you know, of course, Daigo was called King. What if it is Daigo? That would be interesting. What if Daigo's going on a villain arc or something like that? That would be something kind of interesting for sure. But I'll be interested to see if this King of the Universe stuff ties into the Kyoryuger stuff, or if it's separate, and then them kind of, you know, expanding their territory to space adventures or space enemies is what links us to Kyoryuger as a separate thing. Regardless, though, of that, my feelings on that, this opens up a lot of potential, both for the potential Kyoryuger connections and other connections, and we don't even know what else could happen in the future. We could do another third reset by the time this is done. I think it's super interesting to be able to see this and to see this potential of like how the characters will change, maybe some dynamics have changed. Like I said, I would really love to see Gira be a more mature character, and I imagine it'll be interesting to see Rackley's after this time jump as well. And it's cool to see Sentai do innovative stuff like this. Like, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, Sentai will box in your thinking so often because it's such a formulaic series that, like, any other series doing certain things that King-ohger is doing like this, it would be like, oh yeah, shows do that all the time. But this is like, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing this, because Sentai is so set in its ways that when they go outside of their comfort zone, it seems like mind-blowing that Sentai is doing something like this, or even some of the things King-ohger does structurally in general, just because, like I said, I'm so used to the formula, like I can't even fathom them changing certain things that they are. But I want to know what you guys think. Are you excited for this time jump? What do you hope to see out of the time jump? Do you think it's going to tie into this Kyoryuger crossover, and are you actually looking forward to that? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, though, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.